Can't believe a word you say. Almighty media, stripped to sell today. Watchdog of justice, who keeps their eye on you. Calm man, song in hand, who you sing to. The more I get to see, the less I understand. I'm just another ordinary man. Ordinary man, just another ordinary man, just another ordinary man. America, we made our stand.
What is up, guys? Tyson Dela Cruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. Today is April 16th, 2025. I had to double check that. Shout out to everybody catching this on the live. Come on in. If you're catching this on the replay, simply just type in replay in the comment section down below. And again, if you're catching this on the replay, I'll place timestamps in the description down below so you can jump forward and backwards through the topics that we're going to be covering today. First off, I want to give a huge shout out to the moderators in the chat. Shout out to the mods in the chat. Let's go. And then shout out to everybody that's catching this on the live. Thank you for spending today's Wednesday evening with me. I'm losing track. It's getting hot up in here. It's getting hot up in Vegas. Hopefully the weather's warming up where you're at, but it is getting hot. I'm about to turn on the AC soon. Fingers crossed. I hope not. I'm half Filipino, so I try to push off the AC turning on situation until it gets really, really hot. I got the fan on right now. If I was in the office, it would be a completely different story because everybody would be complaining. It's too hot. You need to turn on the air conditioner. Do you pay the bills? No. Anyways, shout out to everybody in the live chat. What's up? What is going on? All right, guys, we are going to jump in today. We got some stuff to talk about. Newsom's nuts. Amazon's panicking. Amazon sellers are panicking across the United States. And the swamp toilet water is starting to swirl. Gavin Newsom is crying over his nuts. Amazon sellers are crying over tariffs. And DC just discovered that LA might have lit $5 billion on fire to solve homelessness. That didn't go out too well. Welcome to America's Most Dysfunctional Home Videos, the Elite Democrat edition. We've got a full menu tonight. First up, Gavin Newsom's California, the slickest used car salesman that filed a lawsuit against President Trump because tariffs are hurting his nut import. I had to break that up there. You heard that right. Gavin Newsom's economy is an absolute free fall. Half of his state is living in tents, and he's in federal court, sobbing to Donald Trump. Think of the nuts, he says. Think of the nuts. You got to think of the nuts. Sorry, Gavin Newsom. Trump is trying to fix our trade policies, not preserve whole food aisles. Maybe if you spent less time on styling your hair and gel, and trying to get a podcast off the ground, and more time on managing your state, things would be okay. Just my personal opinion. Now he's over here backhanding deals with panhandling with Beijing. Meanwhile, Amazon sellers are in full-blown meltdown mode after Trump hit China with 125% tariffs. and closed the loophole to let products from Temu and Shine to ship junk straight to your porch without paying a dime in tax. Now these Amazon entrepreneurs who built their business on a glorified drop shipping model are sitting in the dark. And that's just what it is. Oh, and if you think things couldn't get any crazier here, Los Angeles spent billions and billions of dollars to solve homelessness, and somehow it ended up being worse. There's more homeless on the streets. There's more human feces on the streets than ever. The Fed is finally deciding to sniff around. Be careful, because you might sniff up the wrong thing, Fed. And on to another topic. In Amadora County, Sheriff Gary Redmond just told California sanctuary laws to kiss his badge. He said, and I quote, "I'm giving California the finger." And that's all you need to know there. Oh, and let's not forget about Jerome Powell, the Fed chair, who gives fewer answers than a magic 8-ball. Unless you're Hunter Biden, the 8-ball is a totally different story. He opened up his mouth this week and said the rate uncertainty and a word combination like tariff risks, the stock market acted like they just found out that Santa wasn't real. We've got Gavin Newsom crying over nuts, Amazon crying over Beijing, the Fed crying over Trump, and the swamp is crying because accountability is back on the menu. The left keeps lighting fires and Trump keeps showing up with a flamethrower and a business plan. Let's dive in. Shout out to everybody that's rolling in on the live stream. What is up? What is up? New Scum wants the fall of America. New Scum. What a great name. New Scum. Gavin Newsom, the hair gel man of the year. He looks like a sleazy car salesman at a used car lot off of Main Street. What a guy. Newsom is crying over tariffs, and he decided to sue Trump over his nuts. The guy just keeps winning. Gavin Newsom just filed a lawsuit, according to this article on Yahoo News based on Politico here. Gavin Newsom just filed a lawsuit because tariffs are hurting his almond exports. This isn't a joke. This absolutely is not a joke. California, their economy is absolutely going up in flames, and he's out here crying about nuts and almonds, like literal nuts. This guy's lost his damn mind. Gavin Newsom couldn't get any more dramatic than when his accountant looks at his budget and says, dude, why you been spending all this money on hair gel? He's upset at Donald Trump because he dared to slap tariffs on foreign imports. Now, Gavin Newsom's precious almonds are in danger. Yes, almonds. This is the hill that Gavin Newsom is deciding to die on here. It is wild to me. So, anyways, he says, I'm going after Trump because I want to save the almonds. Newsom claims in this article, Trump used the emergency powers unlawfully, because apparently defending American jobs and balancing trade is now a federal crime. You know, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with Gavin Newsom. Let's jump into this video.
Breaking news as it relates to the Trump presidency. I want you to take a good look at your screen. The latest information just coming into our newsroom from Fox Content Partners out in Sacramento. They report California Governor Gavin Newsom said this Wednesday that his state will file a lawsuit challenging President Donald Trump's authority to impose sweeping tariffs that have set off a global trade war. The suit will argue that Trump's use of the International Emergency Economic Powers Act to impose tariffs on Mexico, Canada, and China, or a 10% tariff on all imports, is unlawful. The act enables a president to freeze and block transactions in response to foreign threats. The lawsuit, which will be filed in the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of California, will also argue that enacting such tariffs requires approval from Congress. Newsom's office saying this in a news release. President Donald Trump has offered many justifications for increasing tariffs, including that they are designed to spur U.S. manufacturing and stop the flow of illicit fentanyl into the country. California's move follows rapidly changing tariff plans by the Trump administration. Newsom says the tariffs in effect have resulted in inflated costs and billions of dollars in damage in California, which has the largest economy along U.S. states and is a massive exporter. We actually have the very latest quote from Governor Newsom, putting it there on your screen right now. This, as California is set to file that lawsuit against President Donald Trump's tariffs. Governor Gavin Newsom saying, quote, President Trump's unlawful tariffs are wrecking chaos on California families, businesses, and our economy, driving up prices and threatening jobs.
Gavin Newsom, this quote is absolutely rich. President Trump, unlawful tariffs are reckoning chaos on California families, businesses, and our economy, driving up prices and threatening jobs. What world are you living in, Gavin Newsom? You shut down basically every single California business during the pandemic, and you were over here sipping wine at your vineyard, going to the French Laundry with your homies, eating escargot while people were struggling to keep their business afloat. When you said nobody can go into businesses, nobody can go into the restaurants, but this is very hypocritical coming from you, because every weekend you were at the French Laundry. Who knows what else you were doing without a mask on, buddy? We already know your shady history with your interns, but President Donald Trump's unlawful tariffs are reckoning chaos on California families, businesses, and economies, driving up prices and threatening jobs. Wow.
He goes on to say, we are standing up for American families who cannot afford to let the chaos continue, end quote. Now, Newsom will discuss the lawsuit alongside California Attorney General Rob Bonta later today in the farm-rich Central Valley. California is a farming powerhouse with many of the nuts, fruits, and vegetables the state grows destined for other countries. The state will ask the court to immediately block the tariffs. The announcement comes days after Newsom asked countries to exempt California exports from retaliatory tariffs. No deals have yet to be announced.
Newsom said, hey, Thanksgiving's coming up. We got to make sure that the cornucopia has nuts in it. Now, don't get me wrong. I like almonds, okay? I like roasted almonds, unsalted almonds. But Gavin Newsom protecting his nuts on on a lot of different levels here. Let's just totally get real here. California's been burning through money like they've been doing gender studies on espresso. This economy, the California economy, is in absolute chaos. They're in a total deficit. Newsom is deciding to sue over tariffs. California has been drowning in debt over the last several years, losing population. They can't keep power on for more than 12 hours straight. Oh, we got to turn off the power when the wind's going. And they're still handing out benefits like it's Oprah's final season. Now, suddenly, Trump's tariffs are a real threat. Newsflash, Mr. Newsom, your economy isn't crashing because of the tariffs, homie. It's crashing because you treat businesses like ATM machines and illegal immigrants like VIP hotel guests. This is why Your state is burning. It is literally going to be like Escape from LA here shortly. The entire city burned. You have poor leadership. Trump's out here playing 4D chess. We hear that a lot. He's cutting deals with allies, hammering down China, and trying to bring back something called American manufacturing. I don't know. You might have heard of it, Gavin Newsom. We used to have it before you shipped and sent all the jobs to your friends overseas. But he'd rather protect his nuts. You know what I'm saying? Come on. Come on. Gavin Newsom. Let me know what you guys think about this. Drop it in the comment section down below or drop it in the chat. This is wild to me. He's like, Thanksgiving's coming up. We got to save the cornucopias. Or the cornucopias, what are they called? That's what they're called, right? The cornucopias. I don't know. I never had a cornucopia growing up. But right, with all the fruits, let me know if that's right. The cornucopia. What's going on, Ricardo? What's going on, Stephanie? What's going on, Terry? What's going on, my mind? Maybe the mixed nuts will have more than almonds now. I hope so. I hope so. No state is poised to lose more than the state of California, Gavin Newsom says. Dude, you have nothing left. Everybody left your state. It is an absolute crap hole. You know what I say to Gavin Newsom? I love this meme. I'm just gonna share it right here.
Everyone does it. Now you can do it too. Shut the fuck up. Shut your mouth. Shut up. Shut the hole in your face. Like that. You can do it. Shh. Shut up. And shut the fuck up.
That's what you got to do, Gavin. You just zip it. California governor sucks big dick. California is the first state to sue Trump over tariffs during his second term. Congratulations, Gavin. Round of applause for Gavin Newsom. What a guy. So focused on his nuts, so focused on things that actually don't bring people back into your state. What about the people that lost everything? What about the people that all their homes burned to ash? What about those people? What about your taxes are way high? The highest place, the highest cost of living in the United States, one of the highest costs of living in the United States. Why don't you work on fixing that? Why don't you work on fixing the homeless situation? You have more feces on the street than you do with residents. There's more feces per human in San Francisco. Fix that. Isn't it wild to me? Like, remember about a year ago, he cleaned up the streets quick. He cleaned up the streets. And now they're back. Now it's just a continued crap hole. What's going on, Gina? It's a continued crap hole. Oh, well. So Gavin Newsom is looking to protect his nuts. Hopefully it works out for you. Here's an idea. Maybe wear a cup. Be sure to smash the like button. It does help with the YouTube algorithms. Shout out to everybody catching this on the live, by the way. All right. Amazon, built on China. Looks like it's time for a new model. Amazon cries Trump closes these loopholes. It's called America First. Maybe cry harder. Some of these Amazon sellers are panicking because Trump just hit China with 125% tariff. Boo-hoo. Big freaking deal. And I'm speaking directly to Amazon sellers. You built your business on cheap slave labor. And how are you mad at America? Because we want to make stuff in America again? Come on. President Trump did something that no other president had the spine to do. He slapped the 125% tariffs on Chinese goods, finally shutting down that little, there was a loophole. It was an $800 loophole that let companies like Temu sells everything that Amazon does exactly, but a quarter of the cost, and Shine, which is like a clothing company. So there was a little $800 loophole on this that let Temu and Shine sell knockoff trash tax-free, like it was a garage sale in Beijing. And now the usual suspects, the Amazon sellers, are crying to CNBC like they want to have a group therapy session. Let's jump into this.
In this tiny warehouse in Northern California, Dusty Kenny is getting her products ready to sell on Amazon.
We make baby spoons, baby placemats, bento boxes, bowls, plates, cups, and we manufacture them in China, and they come via sea in all these boxes here.
But now Kenny is facing a giant additional cost, a 125% tariff on all her goods coming from China.
We have tens of thousands of products here in this warehouse. And when you add a tariff to all of that, and you're trying to absorb that for your customer to not raise prices on them, that adds up to an astronomical amount.
On April 2nd, Trump announced big, aggressive tariffs, a 10% baseline on nearly all imports to the U.S., and far steeper rates on many nations.
In a few moments, I will sign a historic executive order instituting reciprocal tariffs on countries throughout the world. Reciprocal, that means they do it to us and we do it to them.
This is my livelihood. This is how we put food on the table. It could put me out of business.
Stop.
Lady, you had a bunch of inventory. She's like, oh, well, we'll have to raise prices. You have a whole warehouse full of goods. I don't know. I didn't look up this company before I jumped on the live, which I should have, to check their sales revenue, but she has a lot of inventory. She'll be okay. She's selling bento boxes, lunch boxes, and baby spoons. I think she'll be okay. She has enough inventory. But this is the situation when it comes to Chinese manufacturers. You know, you buy cargo containers full of this stuff, and now you have all this inventory, and now you got to figure out how to get rid of it.
Stocks tumbled amid fears of reciprocal tariffs, rising prices, and slowing consumer spend. Although Trump did put a 90-day pause on tariffs for some countries on April 9th,
prices will go up in the short term. There's no doubt about it.
CNBC sat down with 8 U.S. businesses who sell on Amazon to find out how the new tariffs are having an impact on their prices, their competitors in China, and their customers' willingness to spend. Tariffs have been around since America's early days. But since the creation of the federal income tax in 1913, they've become a smaller and smaller portion of federal revenue, with some notable moments of tariff increases along the way. By the 2010s, the average tariff was just 1% to 3%. Then Trump sent tariffs soaring during his first term, taxing steel and aluminum from U.S. allies, threatening.
So the first term, he implemented the tariffs. Biden, you know, what a lot of people don't talk about on leftist legacy media is Biden kept those tariffs in play. So they're basically selling cheap goods. And this next segment on this video, this gentleman's actually selling some brand products. He's a distributor for other brands, but a lot of these folks built their entire business model off of importing basically like glow in the dark dog collars, TikTok leggings directly to the communist regime. And now America's fighting back and they're playing victim on this. Your business model wasn't good to begin with. You know, initially you probably made some really good money, but you're basically a glorified drop shipper. Here's the truth about all this. 70% of products sold on Amazon are imported from China. 70%. And these US-based sellers, most are middlemen for Chinese factories. They didn't necessarily they didn't necessarily build a business. They built drop shipping empires. That's basically what it is, off of dirt cheap labor and zero accountability.
While tariffs on China are nothing new, it's unusual for them to hit certain types of goods, like toys.
I mean, it's real steel. This is a real steel, really tangible toy. This toy retails for $29.99. This will end up costing $5 to $10 more as these tariffs fully pass through.
Jay Foreman runs Florida-based Basic Fun. With $200 million in annual sales, its well-known labels sell on Amazon and at retailers like Walmart and Target.
Tonka trucks, Care Bears, Lincoln Logs, Tinker Toys, Light Bright. And as with most of the toy business, we make the overwhelming majority of our product in China. China, has a tremendous workforce, and not only a tremendous workforce, but they've invested in the infrastructure to create a toy manufacturing supply chain.
Because of China tariffs during Trump's first term, Foreman says a lot of toy manufacturing has moved to Vietnam, Mexico, and India in the last 5 years.
The interesting part there is that most of the factories that operate in places, toy factories anyway, that operate in places like Vietnam, India, and Mexico are owned by Chinese anyway. So you're sort of not escaping doing business with the Chinese.
It's been crazy. Sometimes we find information because we get an invoice or we see the customs entry document. We're like, well, what do we charge? What do we charge again?
John Covey owns St. Louis-based Genius Games. He does the majority of his yearly $2 million in sales on Amazon and makes his science-based board games in China.
The actual machinery to manufacture
They probably stole your IP, bro.
at the quality that we need primarily exists in China, and we have not seen samples that will compare to the same level of quality.
And toys are just one category among many that rely on China for manufacturing and assembly due to lower costs and established infrastructure.
This is one of the most amazing pieces of technology, and this thing is made in China. And whether you're making a Tonka truck in China or an Apple iPhone, they figured it out.
Almost all electronics that U.S. consumers like to buy are fabricated in China. The vast majority of textiles are milled in China, whether the apparel is actually put together in China or not.
Other categories, like teas, can't easily be grown in the U.S. because of the climate.
You need high humidity. Usually you need to be at a very high altitude, and those things only come together in certain parts of the world.
There's other places where you can buy tea from, right? Venezuela, Costa Rica, Peru, these other places. Trump comes in, he drops 125% tariff, closes this particular loophole that allows $800 orders to avoid taxes. And then suddenly these individuals are freaking out. The reason for the Temu and Shine, they were basically undercutting everybody. Temu and Shine. If you guys have ever been to the websites, you see that you can go and look at a particular item that Amazon sells. They sell the exact IP on Temu for like $30, quarter of the price. And then they can ship it directly to your door without, if it's under $800, without paying a penny on the duties. That actually ends on May 2nd.
Green teas that we use are only really grown in coastal China. The black teas are grown in India.
Baltimore-based Zest makes high caffeine teas. About half of its $3 to $4 million of annual sales happen on Amazon.
It's those components that are the most troubling. Of you don't really have a U.S. option, and just you have to pass on the cost eventually.
You have to pass on the cost, essentially, eventually, right? I get it. But then don't build your brand off of export and imports goods, because then it's always going to be determined on those tariffs. And of course, you're going to see CNBC, MSNBC spin this like it's an absolute apocalypse for small businesses. Small businesses will suffer. That's what they're going to say. Small businesses will suffer. No. Lazy businesses that refuse to adapt will suffer. Because here's a crazy idea. Just maybe maybe if you start making things in America again, and if you can't, then yeah, maybe you shouldn't be in the future of our economy. We're not going to be able to make everything here, but your business model sucks. Let me know what you guys think about this. Drop it down in the comment section down below. Smash a like button. It does help with the YouTube algorithms. Let's see what else we got. I already talked about this $800 situation with Temu. But let me know what you guys think about this. Drop it down in the comment section. Drop it down in the chat. Best chopsticks are made in Mexico. Taiwan makes some good items. I love it. I love it. They do. They do. Let's see what happens to Hobby Lobby. Yeah, that's going to be interesting. I bought Christmas lights from Temu once. Cheap and worked great. Yeah, I actually have a buddy that did a test, a comparison test. He went on Amazon. He saw the product that he wanted. He got like a dog bowl filter water system that refills. And then he saw it on Amazon. Then he went to Temu and bought it on Amazon. It was like $100. And then on Temu, it was $20, whatever the situation was. Said it worked great. I've never personally ordered anything off Temu. I probably won't. Just my personal scenario. Just my personal scenario. Unless I want to get some fake Jordans. Unless I want to rock some fake Jordans, you know? Shoot, I could go to the swap meet. I could go to the swap meet and get me some fake Jordans. I used to love going to the swap meet. How many of you guys used to like going to the swap meet? The swap meets out here, they are popping. You can get all the designer stuff you want. All the rip-off bags, all the rip-off clothes you want. All the bootleg clothes for a quarter of the price. Okay, you got a lot of stuff from Shine. I briefly looked at the website. Man, they have some good stuff too at the when I actually went to the when I went to the Virgin Islands, they had similar stuff. So you could buy some designer stuff, and you could buy some you know, their brand stuff, and you didn't have to pay. You didn't have no duties. It was great. It was great. Oh man, they said the only thing that lasts longer than COVID was the only thing that lasts longer than a Chinese product. Oh yeah, swap meets are great. I actually went to a swap meet about a year and a half ago. I hadn't been to a swap meet in a very long time. Playing the Hispanic music got me in the mood. Felt like I was in Mexico again. Din, 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 din. Din, 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 din. Got me some food. That's mainly why I went, to get some food. They had some good tacos. And then we watched the band and just walked around, because it's cool, because people like on eBay, like Fetus was saying, like on eBay, people sell collectibles and you can buy stuff. And then actually, I was looking for like some housing products, because some people buy these containers of damaged boxes for housing materials like sinks and light fixtures, toilets, faucets, things like that. And I was directed to go to this one particular booth, and they had like open box buys. So I had purchased some vanity lights and stuff like that for some projects that we were working on. I got a lot of lingerie. Is it Shine? Is that how you say it? Shine? I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly. I got a lot of lingerie from Shine. But after all the YouTube videos I've seen, I'm a little worried. I ain't trying to get... Yeah. Oh, man. All right, let's jump into this next topic here. Be sure to smash the like button. It does help with the YouTube algorithms. Where did all the money go, Gavin Newsom? Where did all the money go? The feds are now investigating California. California. You know, Gavin Newsom, we're doing whatever we got to do. Billions of dollars burned in California, and you still got... He said, I want to help the homeless, Gavin Newsom said. I want to help the homeless. I want to make sure that the homeless is taken care of. You're 20 years into your 5-year plan. You burned billions in dollars and zero results later. Los Angeles spent billions trying to fix homelessness, and you guys will never guess what they've accomplished. Nothing. Absolutely jack nothing, except for maybe luxury tents with beachfront views, especially now after half the state burned. Now the Fed is finally showing up, and they're like, where did all the money go, man? They're showing up like a teacher after recess trying to figure out who stole the glue sticks. Billions of dollars have been funneled into solving homelessness in Los Angeles County. And what do we get for it? More feces on the street. A higher growing homeless population than actual people. Like, not to say that homeless people are not people, but actual people that pay taxes. We get tent cities that looks like post-apocalyptic camp expos. And the scent, you wouldn't believe the scent off of Hollywood Boulevard. It'll knock a rhino out. The lovely fragrance of urine and human fecal matter just laying in between the crevices of a sidewalk.
Problem of homelessness remains far from being solved. Now, a federal task force is investigating possible fraud and corruption. That task force is led by the brand new U.S. Attorney for the region, Bill Asaley. Welcome, U.S. Attorney Bill Asaley. We've had you on several times as Assembly Member, Bill Asaley. New job. Congratulations on the new gig.
Thank you. Happy to be here and happy to be in this new role.
So let's talk about this homelessness investigation. What have you found so far, and so what are you looking to do in the next few months and years?
Yeah, this is an issue that's been not only on my radar, but I think everyone's radar for the last few years. We've seen billions of dollars being invested into the homelessness crisis, and there's very little to show for it. When I was in Sacramento, we would ask for outcomes, and we got no answers. And then just this last month, as audit was conducted, at the request of Judge Carter, and an accounting firm came in and looked at LASA and said there's $2 billion unaccounted for. Yeah. That doesn't happen. So we want to get to the bottom of where all the money went.
So Judge Carter is the judge that sort of oversees the area, and he's been pushing for a lot of this homelessness stuff. LASA is the housing authority that the county has been using. Now there's a big push to the city has been using, I should say. There's a push to sort of maybe change LASA because of that. So where do we go from here?
Yeah. So we're not prejudging anything. We're conducting an investigation from the bottom up. We're going to get all the bank records. We're going to look at all the transactions, and we're going to account for every dollar that was spent. And we've got FBI, IRS, Office of Inspector General of Housing and Urban Development, and I have my best prosecutors in the office that will be working on this. And the public deserves to know where their money went.
And I know
so this is the new U.S. Attorney General. And they're not out here doing a sightseeing tour. They're actually going to be digging into the fraud and corruption and waste. And then they're going to dub it a TV series called CSI, Skid Row. Because investing in California wasn't a bad investment, was it? It was an investment disguised as a housing program. It was a heist to get the pockets of California fat. You don't spend billions and billions in dollars and end up with more people on the streets unless you're cooking books.
You walked Skid Row with Judge Carter.
I did.
What was that conversation like?
That was an eye-opening experience. I mean, the level of need there was shocking, and also the lack of government services. I mean, walking around there, the only people I saw providing any aid, medical or food, were private people with private donors. And the only government assistance I saw there was people handing out needles and drug kits so that people could safely use drugs. It's shocking.
Well, speaking of that, the previous U.S. attorney put a lot of emphasis on fentanyl and dealing with that issue. Is that something that you see as a priority, and what are you going to do on that?
That is a priority to the administration. Obviously, a lot of the fentanyl is coming over the border. So that's part of our border policy, securing our border, going after China for sending the product to Mexico, and obviously the cartel for distributing it. But dealers in California should be on notice. If you deal fentanyl, we will prosecute you and charge you, and you'll go to federal prison, not state prison.
Good.
What does this role mean to you, to have the confidence of President Trump to be doing this now?
Well, look, it's an incredible honor to be selected by the president and the attorney general for this. This is the largest U.S. attorney's office in the country. We have over 300 lawyers. It's a tremendous responsibility. But I think, with my background, having been a local and federal prosecutor and having been up in Sacramento, it's time to have that oversight, that level of check and balance on a state of California where, frankly, there hasn't been a lot of checks and balances in this state.
Well, speaking of, because you were just part of the super minority, right, in the assembly, where essentially Democrats could ignore you on everything. They didn't need your votes on anything.
They did.
Have a lot of those people now start to reach out to you because they need you?
Of course they did. Of course. They need something now. Now they're reaching out.
You gotten a different sort of response now that you have a lot more power?
I got a lot of congratulations, but as you can imagine, this new role, I've sort of had to detach myself from the political world. So, I've gotten a lot of just congratulatory messages, but no, I probably won't engage in substantive conversations with them just to maintain my independence.
But speaking of that, though, I mean, you were, a real critic of Governor Newsom. Obviously, you're in a different sort of role now, but how do you see this job potentially as a way to keep him in check?
Look, my job is not to keep the governor himself in check. My job is to follow the evidence where it goes. So we're going to look at state spending, like this homelessness, $24 billion spent over the last 5 years. We're just going to look at the accounts and see where the money goes.
Did you guys hear that? I'm going to rewind it back. $24 billion on homelessness.
Public corruption will be a key issue. I know there's going to be another investigation into the high-speed rail. So it's not the governor per se, but it is a lot of the issues that he champions.
Biggest change for the office now with you in charge?
Biggest change to the office is that law and order is back. We're going to be filing cases. We will be aggressive but fair. And I think the biggest thing you'll see is a crackdown on immigration cases. Those are illegal aliens who've re-entered, committed crimes. We'll be very aggressive with them. There were no filings in the last few years under the prior administration. Zero of 1326 cases. As of last week, we've had over 200 filings in my office. So,
zero filings. Where did all the money go, Terry asks? Who knows? Where was the leadership too? Where's the leadership been? Mayor Karen Bass, remember her? Too busy dodging press conferences. The LA City Council, what? Too busy debating gender neutral fire hydrants. Gavin Newsom, where was he? Probably blaming Trump for the Napa Valley wine cave. Who knows? Meanwhile, taxpayers have been coughing up the bill for California while watching homeless encampments multiply like gremlins after midnight. And now the new AG, the Fed, is on the case. And they say, we got to figure out what's going on. We got to figure out what the heck is going on. LA's quote unquote nonprofits, these NGOs, the CEOs might be swapping their Patagonian vests for orange jumpsuits soon. Fingers crossed. We'll see what happens. Who knows? If you stole the money that was meant for housing and you funneled it into your 6-figure salary to make you a multi-millionaire, I don't know. I'm just throwing stuff out. I'm just a guy. What do you guys think about this? Drop it down in the comment section down below. Corruption, no doubt. Drop it in the chat. Corruption, no doubt. Not corruption, I doubt it. Not in Cali.
Got him!
Oh, there used to be a thing called a white elephant sale also. All shelters and businesses were involved with the government. It's fraud ridden. Yep. The receipts, I don't know if my man's going to be able to find receipts or bank accounts. Seems like Pelosi, presumably Pelosi and Gavin Newsom are a little bit smarter than the Tesla vandals. They don't hold evidence on their person like some of these folks do. Yep, I agree. This one's California. This segment is really California heavy here. This segment is California. California knows how to party. Be sure to smash the like button. It does help with the YouTube algorithms. California sheriff to the state, he says, I'm calling ICE anyways. Finally. We got a sheriff in town. We got a new sheriff in town. Sheriff with the spine. Well, Gavin Newsom's out here turning the Golden State into a sanctuary theme park. Feces ridden sheriff, the new sheriff, not new sheriff, but new initiated authority. Sheriff Gary Redmond just told him, nope, not in my county. Go give a huge hug to illegals somewhere else. In Amadora County, California, the new capital of common sense. This gentleman here that we're going to see here, Mr. Gary Redmond, just put Sacramento on notice. He's defying the state's soft on illegal crime sanctuary law. And he's not doing it quietly. He jumped on Fox News and talked about this. He said, I am giving California the finger, the middle one. This isn't a metaphor. This seems to be his mission statement. Let's jump into this.
California passed a sanctuary state law back in 2017 to protect illegal immigrants. Well, now one county sheriff in the state says he's going to defy that law and will contact ICE when he's aware that a person in local custody is in the country illegally and poses a serious public safety threat. Amador County Sheriff Gary Redmond is kind enough to join us live now to talk about this. Sheriffs, thanks for your time. You're essentially giving the state of California and Gavin Newsom the finger. Are you expecting any sort of retribution?
Absolutely, and I've already received a letter. I was expecting that, putting me on notice that I'm required to follow state law, and they are watching me. But the fact is, they're the ones giving California a finger over and over of championing and uplifting criminals here in California instead of the people that we need to, which are the victims of California. And I'm just not willing to do that.
So they send you a letter saying you got to follow state law. Sounds like you're not going to. So what do you envision is going to happen next? Are they going to send you another letter, or what's going to happen?
Well, until I actually do something, there's a lot of provisions of SB 54 that I am allowed to follow and actually will work out. And I think most sheriffs in California are doing exactly that. We're doing everything we can to make California safe. But it's a very isolated incident that if somebody's going to get released and I have to put them back into the community, that's where I'm just not going to do it. And at that point, excuse me, I think I'll probably end up getting some type of injunction from the attorney general or court order, basically demanding that I do follow the law.
So will you work with ICE just on violent crimes or pretty much any crime? Say an illegal immigrant in your county gets a DUI, doesn't crash or hurt anybody, but has a DUI. Will you work with ICE on that? Or is this only limited to serious violent felonies?
Only limited to serious violent felonies or what I believe is going to pose a public safety risk. I can tell you, I already had somebody in my jail recently who wasn't illegal, admitted that he was illegal on a DUI. He left our custody. We arrest a lot of people in Amador County for DUIs, so that's not what I'm focused on. Immigration law is not what we do as local. That's up to the feds. But my job as sheriff is public safety, 100%.
And you're one of only 3 municipalities in the state of California pushing back against this. We have call for number 2 right here. This is a map showing some cities and counties that are defying California's SB 54 sanctuary state law: Huntington Beach, Oroville, and then your county, Amador County.
That's sad. 3 counties. 3 of them.
Sheriff, I hear from a lot of local police departments in California who are very frustrated with the sanctuary state law. They can't work with ICE on the record, but I'm told by a lot of them, kind of wink, wink, they'll talk to ICE under the table and give them a heads up when some folks are being released. Do you hear that as well?
You know, a little bit. Our release dates are actually public record in our jail. What we're trying to work on is get that information out on our website, so it is available. If anybody calls, media, any personal person can call, and they're going to get a release date from us. So that's really not giving privileged information at that point. It is public record.
I want to get your thoughts. We had this recent horrible case out of Los Angeles last week. An illegal alien from El Salvador has been charged with sexually abusing and murdering one of his own players. He's a youth soccer coach out there. He's also been charged with sexually assaulting 2 other teenage boys. What does it say to you that this guy is in the U.S. illegally and felt comfortable enough in the state of California to not only live there, but work as a youth soccer coach, and is now being charged with sexually abusing young boys for the last several years?
It's absolutely disgusting. And this is exactly what, my whole point is, when is enough going to be enough in California? When are we going to stop doing this and championing these people? We need to look out for the victims. And if you're an illegal and you are a victim, I want you to come to us. There's no questions asked. We're going to help you. But it's the criminals that I'm focused on, and we're going to go after, so I can keep the residents of my county safe. And every county should be doing this, as far as I'm concerned.
And we know
Sheriff Redmond, he ain't having it. He says, F you. F you. He said he's doing his duty to protect the citizens, not babysit Gavin Newsom's immigration virtue singling bullcrap. You know what's absolutely bonkers to me is people cheering him on aren't just conservatives. They're all on the they're all everywhere. Conservatives, Democrats, independents, Latinos, legal immigrants who actually followed the rules and don't want their neighborhoods crime-ridden dumping grounds for bad hombres. Newsom just opened up the state and let every person, every undocumented voter, immigrant in. And this gentleman, Mr. Redmond, says they'll punish any person and they'll low-key call ICE and tell them to pick them up because they're bad hombres. Let me know what you guys think about this. Drop it down in the comment section down below. You know, if ICE wants to know about criminal illegals in jail, just pick up the phone. Call up Mr. Redmond. He'll tell you where they're at. He's giving the big old middle finger to California.
ICE appreciates what you're doing. We saw DHS Secretary Kristi Noem tweet at you the other day saying DHS has your back. Keep us posted. If you hear anything else from the state, we'll be in touch.
Let me know what you guys think about this. Drop it down in the comment section down below. Drop it in the chat. Drop it in the chat. Let me know what's going on. California. California used to be a really good place to visit. Really good place to visit. Used to be great. Used to love going to the beaches in California. Used to love going to San Diego. I haven't been to San Diego in forever. It's kind of sad, actually, thinking about it, because it's such a beautiful place. And it's just crime-ridden now. Got the bad hombres in there. Sanctuary, state, whatever the scenario is. It's funny, these clowns can defy the law, but anyone else? Nope. Yep. Ice, ice, baby. Dum 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 dida dum dum. Dum 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 dida dum dum. Ice, ice, baby. This is what I think of every time like ICE does a raid. Every time ICE does a raid, this is what I think of.
FBI, open up!
They just go in there swinging. I don't know if you guys saw the clip. I might share it after these segments here. But there was an individual that was in an elevator and they tackled that fool. He was trying to get away. They tackled him. They got him. All right, we're going to jump into this next segment. Be sure to smash the like button. It does help with the YouTube algorithm. Jerome Powell, the Fed homie. Jerome Powell spoke today and the stock market reacted like they're threatening to cancel Christmas or something. Every time this guy grabs a mic, traders start to panic. I could just see them like absolutely panic, snacking on Tums.
.700 points, the S&P 500 falling more than 2%, and the Nasdaq dropping more than 3%. The 10-year yield also taking a hit on the back of today's comments, falling back below 4.3%. So what should we make of the Fed's comments, Guy?
Well, they're not going to bail out the stock market. I think that's pretty clear. And they're not going to bow to the will of the administration in terms of lowering yields anytime soon, because quite frankly, nothing out there justifies it, I don't think. I mean, if you think it's the stock market is scaring the Fed, I think you're wrong. I don't think they're focused on that. I think the bond market last week absolutely probably scared them, but that's not their mandate either. So to me, he said everything that he's been saying for quite some time, and the market's just starting to listen to him.
Yeah, Karen, you made that point too. Like, what did we hear that was new today? Exactly.
I know. If you were there out there expecting a cut from him, I think that didn't make sense, because we know he has this dual mandate. One side of it is in pretty good shape, right? The labor market is really in good shape. The other has a huge question mark overhanging it. And he really doesn't want to make the same mistake again and letting inflation sort of, potentially run amok. So I didn't.
Every time this guy grabs a microphone, stock market freaks out. Jerome Powell is the same guy who jacked up interest rates faster than Kamala Harris's approval ratings dropped. He opened up his mouth today. Surprise, surprise. Wall Street lost their ish. They absolutely lost their mind. The Dow tumbled a little bit. NASDAQ took a little nosedive. S&P curled up like a little toddler that dropped their ice cream. Donald Trump advised Jerome Powell to drop the rates. But Jerome Powell says he's working on these dual kind of mandates. Jerome Powell said he's still uncertain about particular rate cuts. I think it would be a good idea personally to drop the rates, but what do I know?
I didn't think there was anything that was surprising, and yet I was surprised that the market was surprised.
Yeah. Although it did seem like there was a little bit more acknowledgement of sort of the bad outcomes of all this, the dual mandate goals being in tension, I thought was an interesting phrase, and also the need for price stability in order to have a strong labor market.
But that says maybe I'll do something at that point, right? Not right now, I think.
Right.
Yeah, I heard that, Mel. I heard, first of all, I heard a Fed that I thought was digging in a little bit more today into their stance, and that basically current policy is forcing them away from their goals, or at least, and that they won't be forced away from their goals. And in fact, there was a preview. Fed's Hammock was speaking earlier in the day, and this was at 12 o'clock. And I think it was really setting the table for this, which is that we are not going to, I think, something about respond to the twists and turns of the market, I think was a quote. And I think the dynamic here, it's kind of funny or ironic or not at all. But I would make an argument that our Treasury Secretary is somebody that probably for a long time wanted the Fed, lived in a world where I think was very critical of a Federal Reserve. I'm not, maybe I'm putting policy words in his mouth, but I think Scott Bessent historically was someone that probably felt the Fed was always too quick to jump to the market's rescue. There's a lot of people.
Either too quick to jump to the rescue or too slow to do it. This is just my personal opinion. He wants this kind of dual situation. He sees stable economy, but he's uncertain about the tariffs. This is what Jerome Powell actually had to say today. Meanwhile, the average American is just saying, I don't really give a crap what the Fed does. I just want lower cost of food and groceries. I want it to cost less than my car payment. That's just what I want. Let me know what you guys think about this. Drop it down in the comment section down below. I know the Fed typically they use their manipulation tactics to kind of defer or move around the market. All right, we're going to jump into this next segment here. Be sure to smash the like button. It does help with the YouTube algorithm. So we got this next segment here from Marjorie Taylor Greene. Marjorie Taylor Greene has been doing these town halls, and she had some questions that people asked her across the intro web. They said, hey, they asked her a particular question. She posted it like in a PowerPoint, but something crazy happened. Something absolutely crazy happened. A protester gets tased over Trump backlash. Let's check this out.
U.S. That's where town hall events hosted by Washington lawmakers put them face to face with the voters they represent. Republican Senator Chuck Grassley fielded questions in Iowa about a man from Maine mistakenly deported to El Salvador.
I didn't say that.
Meanwhile, in Georgia, a town hall hosted by Republican Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene turned violent after an altercation between a police officer and an attendee. Here's what CNN's crew saw. So what you're watching there is CNN crews witnessing police use a stun gun on at least two men after they refused to leave the event. Both men and another woman were arrested. Police say that officers used force that was, quote, necessary to gain compliance and control the situation. At least 11 more town halls are set to happen across the country tonight. Reed Binia now has more details on what lawmakers hope to accomplish on Tuesday.
Tempers flared as Washington lawmakers faced constituents at town halls.
Yo, this is why you got tased, bro. This is why you got tased. You see how homie's grabbing the security guard? You see how he's grabbing him by the collar? This is why you got tased.
Tempers flared as Washington lawmakers faced.
You don't grab a security guard like that. For sure, you're getting tased, bro. For sure.
Constituents at town halls on Tuesday. Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene was interrupted several times by protesters at her town hall in Georgia, with police forcibly removing people from the event, arresting 3 individuals, and using stun guns in 2 instances. Greene dismissed the interruptions and moved on.
Thank you to our great police officers.
She displayed some critical constituent questions about the Trump administration on a projector, reading them out loud and responding in at least one case by pushing back.
Unfortunately, you're being brainwashed by the news that you're watching. A lot of Democrats pride themselves on being educated, and I suggest they educate themselves better.
In Iowa, Republican Senator Chuck Grassley took a different tack, mostly listening to concerns about the Trump administration.
I'm trying to recapture the constitutional authority of Article 1.
Aisle complete with scrums and stun guns. That was the scene at an event for Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene in suburban Atlanta. Police arrested 3 people. They did use stun guns on 2 of them. Now, Greene did not take questions face to face. Instead, questions had to be submitted in writing, and she mocked anything that was critical. Protesters jumped at her several times.
So these folks, you're getting aggressive with the police officer. They just confirmed it. It was Georgia State Police. Yep, they were cops. You're getting aggressive with the police. Okay, they're just trying to escort you out, and you're grabbing them by the collar like you're gonna take a swing at them. Of course, you're gonna get stunned, homie. You don't see this. You don't see this in, if a Republican or an independent goes to a Democratic town hall, you don't necessarily see a lot of this. I know that there's mentally imbalanced people on both sides, but more so on the left. More so on the left. Tased and confused.
Ladies and gentlemen, they're all inside the interior of the United States. All inside the interior of the United States. You can head out. The protest is outside. Thank you very much. Protest is outside.
Whoa.
Protest is outside. Bye. Have fun out there.
Whoa. People throwing derogatory terms off the jump at a town hall. Maybe if you cleaned up your language and didn't act such a fool, maybe you'd get some respect. Speaking of acting like a fool, we're going to jump into this next segment. Let me know what you guys think about getting tased and confused. Tased and confused. We got this next situation here. I think I saved this one for the best. This is the best right here. From Bartender to Broadway. You guys wouldn't believe what happened. AOC's been in the news a lot lately because she's been on this tour with Bernie Sanders, fighting against the oligarchs, the billionaires. AOC, the billionaires. Alexandria Costa-Cortez just debuted her new accent at a rally in Idaho, and you guys are going to get a crack out of this because nothing, absolutely nothing says authentic like when you change your voice to match the zip code you're in. AOC's taking a nice playbook out of Kamala Harris's book, right? Right? She unveiled a brand new accent at a rally. Social media erupted faster than Tesla stock dips. Conservatives accuse her of channeling the inner Kamala Harris. AOC is channeling the inner Kamala Harris. She's taking notes, guys. You better watch out. This isn't AOC's first rodeo, though. Back in 2019, I believe it was, she faced backlash back then for using a different accent during Reverend Al Sharpton's National Action Network convention. And she defended herself and she said, when I get fired up, I just change my voice. I'm going to jump into this. Without further ado, let's jump into AOC and her new accent.
And we saw it just happen with Trump's corrupt and disastrous and rushed tariff scheme. We saw Marjorie Taylor Greene buy that dip. I got one question for her. How much did you make? How much did you make off of people's despair? How much did you make off that panic? How much did you make off of that suffering? No more. We can't accept it. It was all, I hope we see now, that it was all about manipulating the markets so that he could quietly enrich his friends who bought the dip before reversing it all in the morning. Boise, this is a matter of fact. Donald Trump is a criminal who was found guilty of 34 felony counts of fraud, liable for sexual abuse. Of course he's lying and abusing and manipulating the stock market too. When he talks about rapists and criminals, he should look in the mirror.
I gotta rewind it back for the folks.
Donald Trump is a criminal who bought the dip before reversing it all in the morning. Boise, this is a matter of fact. Donald Trump is a criminal who was found guilty of 34 felony counts of fraud, liable for sexual abuse. Of course he's lying and abusing and manipulating the stock market too.
Of course he's lying and manipulating the stock market too. Of course he's lying for manipulating the stock market too. What? AOC, what is going on? Your performing arts major is really taking a good job here.
Of course he's lying and abusing and manipulating the stock market too.
Oh man, oh man. Of course he's lying. Manipulating the stock market too? AOC. Oh man. AOC, what is going on? Performing arts major AOC, guys. From Bartender to Broadway. AOC's got range. I don't care what you say. She's got range. Alex Stein says she's a big booty Latina. I don't think so, but the more and more that we see of AOC, the less and less I actually like her. In the beginning here, she had an accent too.
Tariff scheme. We saw Marjorie Taylor Greene buy that dip. I got one question for her. How much did you make? How much did you make off of people's despair? How much did you make off that panic? How much did you make off of that suffering? No more. We can't accept it.
Look at the audience, though. The audience. It's fantastic. We got purple hair. We got red hair. We got green hair. We got sun hats. We got cat ladies. This galore over here. And the stock market, too. It's funny. You don't talk about Nancy Pelosi and her ability just to time the market just to perfection. You forgot to mention that, AOC. But hey, she's part of your party, so obviously you wouldn't, right? Changing your accent to match the audience might be a good strategy. Didn't really work for Kamala Harris, but hopefully by the end of the year, we'll have a sequence of multiple AOC accent changes as she goes on tour with Bernie Sanders. Let me know what you guys think about this. Drop it down in the comment section down below. Drop it down in the chat. Let me know what's going on. I'm going to jump into the chat. And the stock market too. Oh, man. Let me jump into the chat here. Kamala 2.0. Al Sharpton's been a race baiter for as long as I can remember, at least since 92. LA riots. Yeah, LA. Yep, Al Sharpton. My man. Al Sharpton. True dat, Terry. True dat. Another comedic sketch, AOC. That liability accusation was what got ABC sued. Never made a good margarita. Oh, man. Ricardo says, bet the litter box crowd. The litter box is crowded here. That's funny. AOC, look in the mirror. Oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, man. Well, I'm going to jump on out of here. I got to play with the pup for a little bit. But let me know what you guys think about all the happenings that went down today. We got Gavin Newsom protecting his nuts. We got Amazon drop shippers freaking out. We got the Fed finally investigating LA County. California sheriff gives the big FU to California. Tariffs. Jerome Powell. We got tased and confused. And then we got AOC. Actually, I wanted to, let me see. What was another one? Oh, man. I guess Donald Trump did a Spanish interview. That was a classic. Anyways. Drop it down in the comments. Let me know what you think about everything. And then I'll be back tomorrow too. I'll be back tomorrow, 6 p.m. PST. Smash the like button if you kindly would on your way out. Share and subscribe, guys. I want to give a huge shout out to the moderators in the chat. Shout out to the mods in the chat. Always a good time. And shout out to everybody catching this on the live. Thank you. I appreciate it. All right, guys, I'm going to jump on out of here. Really, truly appreciate you guys. You guys are the best chat on YouTube, period, end of story. Some of the best moderators in the business. And again, I'll be back tomorrow too. Smash the like button, share, subscribe. And as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.